We can't do music every time.
Are
I'm
we
not
gonna
Brad
do After Dark
Hightower.
soon?
Yeah, we'll do After Dark next week. I'm
I
not Brad
love it.
Hightower. We can't go music every time, right? We go music when it's appropriate. After Dark. Right now, I gotta get to the site, man. I got a brand new coordinator I haven't even said hi to yet in 2 days.
Wow.
So, yeah.
It's is it difficult being you? Because I have to imagine it's just really hard.
I
Uh,
mean, it's not easy, but I'm not complaining. There's worse things I could be doing by far, by
yeah.
far, by far. I'm grateful. After going to ACRP, I'm grateful for the life I have,
What
meeting the
was
people I met.
ACRP like for you?
You want the truth, or do you want like the polished,
Mm,
lawyer
I
approved
I want the
version?
polished version because you know what? I never want the truth. I want you to tell me all the lies you can tell because
Darshan,
that's my
ACRP
life.
is a wonderful event designed to give people continuing education units and foster an environment of networking and collaboration.
You know what I really liked about that was the word foster.
Yeah. What about
Uh,
impetus? We all should have an impetus
it's the
to
synergies
succeed.
where you think out of the box. That's what I'm
Ah,
really into.
and decentralized and diversity
Oh yeah.
and togetherness and hashtag collaborations.
Wait, I'm sorry. Are
Is
they
that what you want to
throwing
hear? Is
togetherness
that what
more?
you want? Hashtag togetherness, hashtag collaborations, hashtags clinical trials day is in a month,
What?
hashtag what other kind of stuff did I hear there? Yeah, that's good. That's ACRP event for
So
me.
now let's talk about
Why
fraud.
didn't you go,
Fraud.
man? Hold on. Hold
What?
on. You're not getting off so easy, man.
Okay, okay.
Why didn't you go to ACRP? It's like a huge event. I was expecting to see you there.
So I don't do too many site. Here, I'll be blunt. Unless I'm being paid, I don't go to these places. As
Okay,
or
fair
unless
enough.
it's free for me somehow.
Fair
I
enough.
need it to be cost neutral.
Why?
Uh, the-
Why? Are you done getting value out of it? Like fair.
no, so my experience mostly tends to be that the big value in all of these things is when you are networking.
Yep.
And I think to do networking, to get that networking effect, you need to go to enough of them to be
Yeah.
able to get that networking effect. You go to one,
Yeah.
maybe two a year, you
Yeah.
simply can't get that networking effect only because you're not there at enough events. So less than that, you spend a lot of money. It takes, I'd say on average, even if you're driving to someplace, by the time you pay for
Yeah.
things, by the time you sort of live there, eat there, attend the event, you're 4 or 5 grand down, depending on what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, even just pure food will be like $400 or $500 by the time you're done everything, right?
Yeah.
You're flying there, trips, then you may have to still stay there, and some people have to pay to actually attend, and then so I'm not taking away the events themselves. Most people, when I speak, I try to give away all my best stuff, but most people are told by their companies you can't give away your best stuff because that's our margin. That's how we are going to
Right.
win. So you're getting stuff that is cool, but not the coolest.
You're getting the infomercial
Right.
with
Higher.
a call to action for meet me after for the real thing and pay us for the even more real thing.
Yeah. And I don't blame them for that, right? Because that's the entire business model. The problem with it, however, is
It's
I'm
archaic.
it's not even yeah, I mean it's archaic. I mean, I think about what you and I do, for example, with these podcasts. And
Yeah.
what we try to do is like, here's stuff that's going on right now that I'm tackling right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is this relevant to you? Take it away.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Yeah.
that's the difference. I think we're operating a different model. So I find the
Yeah.
whole so to me, the big value that an ACRP or a DIA or any of these give is in the networking effect. And to do that networking effect right, you need to attend as many of them as you possibly can.
Yeah.
You have a
There
different
was a
take?
lot of yeah, it's a good take. I mean, you could go for free, but like you said, you got to pay for food. I mean,
Yeah.
just like living there for 3
Yeah.
days. You didn't
Yeah.
have to go to the actual like inside the conference hall or the lecture rooms.
You
You can
don't.
go loiter in the lobby for free, and there everyone walks through there.
Yeah, but then you're paying you feel even worse, right? Because you then paid about $1,000 to literally loiter in the lobby for free, like hoping you meet someone.
No, but you will meet people.
Oh, you absolutely will meet people, especially at an event that size.
Yeah.
But I when I do those events, like I want to maybe jump into a session or two every so often.
I didn't go to any sessions. I only went one day, and I
Yeah.
went to film podcasts
Yeah.
and have some dinners and be done. The after party was legit too. Shout
Yeah.
out to Viva and Inato for allowing me to be there and filming a bunch of podcasts. We have a bunch, man, and even after somebody told us, well, it's a fire hazard. You can't film wherever you want. You have to film only in your booth. So I was like grounded by the powers that be at ACRP, and somehow there was no fire hazard for their own videographers, but there were for ours.
um, but here's my question though: would you advise site owners to attend events like ACRP?
Uh, whew. If you're considering no other alternative like SOS,
Hmm.
yes.
Okay, talk to me about
Considering
that.
SOS, I think we made it to where it's once a year. I mean, ACRP has a few like local chapter meetups. We're working on doing stuff like that. ACRP, SCRS, SOS, and a couple of therapeutic area conferences, I think would be worth sending someone from your site to all of them for. I got a couple studies out of it. Well, hopefully. Like I met
Yeah.
a couple sponsors, I filled out a couple site profiles. I actually networked with a few other site owners. We're already sharing study leads. So, yeah, the
So I think
owner doesn't need to go to all of them, but somebody
Mhm.
should go from every site. Somebody responsible.
I think that's really interesting because I think you do it differently than I do. And I think you have more productive events. And I think part of my problem is that I just go to these things and I enjoy winging it and meeting whoever I meet. And I think that's a problem, quite honestly. I
Oh no,
think,
I wing it too.
but
I
you still
wing
have
the
all
hell
these
out of it.
leads and everything that comes out of it, right?
Yeah, you hope to get some studies out of it. Yeah. I mean, I go like I'm different cuz I go to create content first. Like that's what
Right,
I go for.
right,
But if I were I'm trying to imagine myself not as a YouTuber, just
right.
would I go, I probably would go to ACRP, SCRS and SOS. And not necessarily in that order. I probably the inverse of that order. How would it go?
Right.
But yeah, and maybe not me personally to all of them, but to I would have someone go from my site to I would have some presence at each of those events for
But
the collaborations.
what would your agenda look like? So you're telling this person, you know what, Bob, you're gonna go attend this event.
Yeah.
What? How do you want them to prepare for it? How do you want them to sort of?
If I would send like let's say Lana, who is
Yeah.
probably the most likely of my staff to do well at this, I would say Lana, listen, I'm not
Well, first of all,
going.
why is she the most likely? What made her the most likely?
Her personality type is exactly the same as mine. We do the personality test on everyone. Actually, I gotta
Okay.
do it on the new girl. Jessica, be ready today. Um, she's exactly me, my personality.
And what is your
Because she's
personality? Do you see it? Outgoing, outgoing,
ENFP,
or
ENFPT. So empath. What's geez, what is the N? Empath. Oh no, sorry, extrovert, empath, ENFP. I forgot the F right now. It's been a while, and then P is the T is turbulent at the end. The last letter could be a T or a J for turbulent or judgy. Judging.
so ENFP is extroverted, intuitive,
There you go.
feeling, and prospecting traits.
Feeling, yeah, yeah. Feeling and prospecting, yes. Prospecting. She's the same letters, all of them. So I would tell her, Lana, you're gonna be easily distracted. That's my weakness, and it's gonna be yours as well. I need you to come back with 5 contacts for either sponsors
Mhm.
and maybe 3 to 5 site owners that you have verbally agreed to share study leads with, and
So
then that's it.
you want her to go there, connect with 5 sponsors.
Yeah.
Uh, now, why
Ignore
would
all the job recruiters. Like when you see them, just zip around them. Be rude if you need to. They're gonna try to hire you away. That's the risk of sending your staff to these things. But you just gotta treat them right if you don't want them to leave. But yeah, that would be successful conference for me. Like if I don't have to go, Lana comes back with like 5 sponsors. Hey, I signed up with Sanofi, Merck. That's who I actually did this time around. Sanofi, Merck, some other
So
CRO.
now, how do you
5.
know to go anywhere? Like in terms of because it's one of those black box problems, right? Like it's like
Yeah,
applying for a job. It goes in
yeah.
that giant black box. No one knows what the hell
Oh,
happens in
you
there.
don't know if it's gonna go anywhere, but like if they usually have a link to fill out. Like
Yeah.
they'll have like you can even do it at their booth, but they'll give
Right.
you like a business card with a
Right.
QR code. Boom, let's fill out this link.
But
I
then
don't
why
even
can't you
care if
do
she
it
would
from home?
send me the link. Like she can send me the link or send one of us the link, and we do it back where we are. But it would just be um a successful outcome for us for a new site.
But why do you need to be there to get that link? Why couldn't you get the link
You
without?
don't, but if they are there, the sponsors,
Uh huh.
that means they are emphasizing that link. So sometimes like if they'll have like all these sponsors and CROs have sign up pages,
Yeah.
but if they're not actually like if they're actually promoting it at a
Hmm.
conference like this, it
Hmm.
means they're taking it seriously. Like sometimes I'm assuming someone's actually looking at it, or else why waste the time at a conference to do that?
Well, usually they're first of all they're at those conferences. In my experience, mostly to say that we are at these conferences, not
Sure,
necessarily.
sure.
I also think that like they are not typically the ones that is a Sanofi or Merck. I think the current model again goes in and out, as you know, but the
Yeah.
current model is the CROs do the recruiting, so it's not so much Sanofi and Merck. They might be trying to build their database, but the truth is that their CRO, PPD, or whoever else will probably end up doing a lot of the
Yeah, fair
recruiting.
enough. Fair enough. I mean,
So
and I'd probably have Lana go to like a few of the sessions because she's not as experienced as me. Like I don't think I would get anything out of these sessions. Maybe I don't know.
some sessions, my experience with these sessions is they can be really, really good sometimes. So I attended DIA earlier this year for a different thing.
Yeah.
That one I helped create the program, so I was
Mm.
excited to be there. But and it was a requirement that I go. But I thought that there were sessions that were like, I wouldn't have gained anything. But then there were some sessions where I was like, oh yeah, this one's great. This one's like real, and you never know because
Hmm.
some of the worst topics lead to the best answers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh
You're right. I think just by being there, you can observe, even if it's like
yeah,
subjective. You can get a pulse. You could get your finger on the pulse of what's going on now.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
diversity is huge right now, but not like it used to be. Like it used to just be virtue signaling. Now it's like no, the FDA mandates we have the diversity numbers in our database from of patients, like from the study. I and you tie it in, bless you. You tie it into when you come back, bless you, bless you,
More. There we go.
bless
Thank you.
you.
Sorry about that.
When you come back, you see things a little bit differently. So I came back after hearing about diversity from the FDA. I talked to the FDA there, by the way.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
actually have the FDA on a podcast.
Did you? That was
Yeah, it was
awesome.
pretty scary. She was a little like aggressive at first too. Like, what are we gonna talk about? I already thought I was getting audited, and came out good. But she talked about diversity. She opened up and then showed me all the stuff she had, and yeah, clearly diversity is like one of the biggest priorities of the FDA right now. When I came back, my eyes were more like tuned into this. I got
Yeah.
an email from a sponsor. Hey, we really need Hispanics in our study. So this is what we're doing study wide. For every 3 Hispanics you enroll, we're allowing one other race to be enrolled right now.
Well, that's a problem, though, isn't it? That kind of defeats the
Yeah,
purpose.
but it drives home the message
Right.
how important this is. And we're in a good situation. You want Latinos? We got Latinos. Matter of fact, we approached the sponsor with an email about paying us more then, if that's the case.
Trust, trust you to come up with the angle for that.
Well, that was
Uh,
Chris.
no, but I think that's kind of a fun thing to get into. I think this whole idea of how do you navigate these events successfully is not a conversation enough people have, because I think people
Yeah.
often do like what I do, which is, oh, let's go to these events and talk to people and hopefully something lines up. And it does. If you go to enough events, you shake enough hands,
Yeah.
you'll do it. But there was a point in my career probably about 2013, 2014. I think I literally counted. I went to 23 events in one quarter.
That's
And
crazy, man. In
right,
1 quarter?
in one quarter.
You're
Uh,
insane, man. That's averaging 100 a year.
yeah, it was insane. And I was presenting in many of them because the thing with my background is I can actually present at almost every pharma event, right? Because
Yeah,
I've got sort of on the ground knowledge on a lot of things.
right, right.
So everything from clinical research to advertising, but also medical affairs and also CEO and diversity. And like you
Mhm.
pick it, I could probably do a talk on it. AI, reimbursement stuff I've gotten into. It's
Yeah,
things that I'm dealing with that not enough people are talking about, like fraud, for example, mergers and acquisitions. Like I can talk about any one of these in some significant depth. Um,
mhm,
but
mhm.
but you have to call it at some point. You can't be presenting.
Yeah, and every conference sort of has its own personality. Like
Right.
SOS, brand new, it's the upstart. Hopefully, we continue
Yeah.
that. That's our biggest challenge is continuing this entrepreneurial spirit, this very welcoming. People who said it's like very welcoming. This one that I went to, um,
It's very big.
it's big. A lot of people are just there for their continuing education credits.
Really? You think so?
Oh, a lot. That's like a big part of ACRP. And so a little bit of that spirit or a lot of that spirit I think is not there. But, of course I'm biased. So what do I know? You guys go for yourself and let me know.
But here's my question: does that mean that SOS next year is going to have CEUs included?
No, no.
Like, no, we're
We're
not
not
there
ready
yet.
for that. You have to pay a lot to be a
Yeah,
vendor of that.
yeah, yeah.
It's like all kind of a grift.
But the idea is, if you do, then you might land up in a scenario where more people show up, right? Question. But see, for
Mm,
me, that's the other thing. I think there are certain events you go to that are on the smaller side because you know you're going to shake with all the right hands because they
yeah,
want you to be there.
yeah.
Ruth agrees with us.
Mm,
There are events you want to be at where um, people are just going. I want to shake the right hands. People are there because they want to learn. And there are like the massive ones, 6,000, 7,000 people there.
yeah.
And then,
But you know what, man? This on the scale, like ACRP on the scale of a DIA or a bio, because I've been to all of those.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Those are massive.
Right.
Actually, those feel very different than SOS. This one feels comparable to it.
Really?
Yeah,
I haven't been to
like there's
ACRP in
probably
probably
way more
15 years.
attendees, but I'm talking people walking the floors, engaged, talking to each other. The number when you filter it to that, like people who actually want to be there,
See, here's
it's
the thing. I think
fewer.
I think the difference is the audience. I think sponsors, for example, a bio or a DIA, we could argue about this all day long, but they tend to be more for like the huge groups. So
Right.
your large sponsors, your
Yeah.
large CROs, your large site networks. And in those situations, what they're looking for in many cases is can we connect? Like the meetings are not even happening. You're just DI is just the reason you all got there. And now all the meetings are happening in hotel rooms and
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
like
Well,
uh
same with this ACRP. There were so many after parties.
but no, you're thinking
SOS had,
after parties, but I'm
yeah.
actually talking about during the conference.
Oh, during the conference meetings. I
Yeah.
see. I see.
Um so I think ACRP, for example, there's still a little bit of a site perspective. So it's
Oh
like
yeah.
these people
Yeah.
meeting, and I'm not again, I'm not dissing either one because I think each has its place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I think ACRP is more geared towards sites, and that means that you're going to have more.
Sites or like CRAs or coordinators, but yeah,
Right,
like
but I'm sort of
the
talking
frontline
about that side.
workers.
Frontline workers is
Yeah.
what I meant.
Yeah. DA and
Um,
bio are more for the executives.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's the other takeaway.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It
and
was
even
good.
BI and Bio, for example, are having conversations on what level do we want to play at. Like you'll have people going, "Oh, we're MSLs, for example, but do we want to have executive levels that are attending?" And those conversations happen as well,
Yeah. Yeah.
because there are these groups that are going, we can do the MSL part. So then DI is saying, "What is our niche?" Or if DI is doing the MSL, the other groups are saying we need to be a higher executive level. So it's all conversations that are happening. But yeah.
Yeah. All in all, though, I mean, it's it's decent conference.
It is. The other thing I did want to talk to you about was something I was talking to a couple of people about. Um, let's finish this topic, and maybe we'll jump. Thank you for the not legal or medical advice part. I
Oh
just
yeah,
realized that.
clearly not. Well, we haven't even gotten into
No,
anything yet,
no.
but waiting for
Um,
Deshaun to grill me.
so let me tell you about something else that I've been jumping into that's been popping up a lot. So one of the most common ways you'll see sites sort of organize is that you'll just go, "Hey, Dr. Smith, I want to do would you like to be part of a clinical trial with me?"
That is my
And
PI's name. How did you
is
know?
it really Dr. Smith?
Yeah, Dr. Smith. SMYTHE.
Isn't that Smythe?
I thought it was too, but no, he says Smith. Everyone calls him Smith.
Smith it is. So Dr. Smith, would you like to be in a study with us? He goes, yeah. And now all you'll end up doing is you'll end up supporting him, and essentially you become a vendor to him while you are doing the study. And then your site network basically says, well, okay, talk to me about how you set yours up.
No, I like to become partners with the PIs.
Talk to me more about what that looks like. You'll give equity?
Yeah. Not right away. The
Okay.
first study or two is contractor.
Okay.
And then if it works well, if you like me, I like you, it's verbally agreed we'll do the LLC route.
So what you'll do is you'll do like a organization. The organization will do all the clinical research. The doctor's part of the organization. He works for that organization.
Yeah.
And that organization does the clinical research, right?
Yep.
So here's the thing I've been getting into that has made me go, holy shit, how have a lot of us been missing this? So the big question to ask is, in many states, you land up with what's called the issue of the corporate practice of medicine, which basically means, have you ever heard that term before?
No.
Okay. So corporate practice of medicine basically says that only physicians are allowed to be doctors, are allowed to practice medicine.
Right.
Corporations are not allowed to practice medicine. Investors are not allowed to practice medicine. So when you land up with a scenario, and this is not true for every state, so I'm not speaking for Arizona, I'm not speaking for California, I haven't looked into those laws specifically right now. But in several states, you land up in a scenario where you go, is my organization engaged in the practice of medicine? And if you are, so for example, the type of work you're doing in clinical research, is that suddenly considered to be the practice of medicine? And if so, you have the doctor has a problem, your company has a problem, and investors in your site will not have a problem because you can't buy a site that's doing something that's illegal.
Right.
So what you have to do is you have to set up what's called an MSO in those situations, and there are a couple of different variations of this. But what happens is the doctor's office does the doctor's office stuff. You have an MSO, a management services organization, and what that does is provides all those ancillary services. Mm-hmm. So regulatory documents and what do you call it? Like training, all the other stuff you provide.
Protocol training, yeah.
All that stuff, exactly. And that organization provides all the services to the doctor's office. So the doctor's office continues to do the medical stuff. You don't do the medical stuff, and you explicitly say you don't do the medical stuff.
Sure. I mean, it's implied already. The doctor.
That's not how that works, and doctors have gotten into major trouble over that.
Probably because they're not being good PIs. Like, you're supposed to have patient safety first as a doctor.
No, but you're thinking of a different problem. You're thinking of patient safety. I'm saying that the way if doctors are part of your organization, and they're doing the work, now your organization is practicing medicine. You who are not a doctor are part of an organization that's practicing medicine, and that's
but research is not medicine; it's research.
Well, unfortunately, if you are involved in things like taking blood pressures and making sure that certain care is given,
but for research purposes, though.
No, but that's the problem. I think that would be highly problematic. I don't think so. For example, why do you need a PI if it's not medicine? Why do you need an MD?
You need an MD to keep patients safe, somebody to assess
which
CS, NCS.
which is the practice of medicine.
That is, yeah, that part is, but that's only for them to do. Like it's very
And that's the point.
explicit.
And that's the point. That cannot be done by an organization that is not authorized to do that type of work.
I could see it get blurry if you have a sub investigator like a nurse practitioner who is not part of the physicians organization, is part of the research, and you defer to them to also practice the medicine.
That
Or
would still be no. So let's pull up say California practice of medicine.
okay, see, I love these, man. You have a way to just like early in the morning scare the shit out of people.
So I'm gonna see if I can find their definition.
No one is compliant with this.
Oh, believe me, I know this has become a huge problem, and
And
I'm
sites
like,
are still getting acquired, and I think doesn't the SOP save you in a way? Like
no,
your SOPs?
no, you're straight up in violation. There's no like negotiating around it.
But who actually enforces this?
It's state board of medicine. Doctors will get in trouble, and there are loads of examples of this.
Hmm.
Uh,
I think you need like proof to get a doctor in trouble.
but it's really easy, right? Your contract already says that he's in trouble if the doctor's part of your site and is providing the services. Here.
But that you're assuming the private practice is not separate from the research, no?
The research has to be separated from the private practice, right?
Right.
And then you're saying that if the research is separated from the private practice, who is doing in that research? What are you doing? You're providing medicine. So here, let me share my.
So ultimately, what you're saying is it boils down to the PIs at some point providing medical care.
They have to. So what you have to do is you have to split it up, because the other advantage is you don't want to, as a site, try to be HIPAA compliant.
What about the 1572?
Doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
1572 has no
Ruth,
impact.
you haven't talked to enough attorneys, right? They're going to get their point in, regardless of whatever form you throw their way.
No, because it's state law. 1572 has no impact on state law here.
See?
So I'm looking at the Medical Board of California. This is talking about the corporate practice of medicine.
Listed below. Okay. Any person who practices or attempts to practice, or who holds himself or herself out as practicing medicine without having at the time of so doing a valid, unrevoked, or unsuspended certificate
is guilty.
Well, yeah. You can't have you can't practice medicine without having a license.
Except that's what you're doing if you're involved in doing research without having the appropriate control. Like if that organization is doing research and is doing so in a way that is what's the word I'm looking for? Which is why I'm trying to find the definition of the word medicine. Definition of medicine. Let's find the definition. So California, State Board of California. No.
You got a sports story front and center, man. The algorithm doesn't know you.
Oh, there we go. What is the definition? Here we go. I'm just using these guys. Diagnosing, treating, operating, or prescribing medicine for any ailment, blemish, deformity, disease. Would you say that it falls in?
Diagnosing, sometimes. Treating, you can argue no. Operating on, if it's surgery study, clearly. Prescribing, they don't prescribe meds in studies. And then...
Oh, you 100% do?
Nuh-uh.
How are you going to get, even the concomitant meds?
Yeah, the con meds, if it's the PI, if that's his actual patient, yes.
No, but even if it's not,
they don't do. It's the patient's primary care or whomever that does the prescriptions. We just record what they're on.
So you're saying that the con meds would be from the PCP?
Yeah.
And then you'd come in, you'd choose whether they get onto the comparator drug or the study drug.
Yeah. And we can tell them, hey, to qualify, you need to talk to your PCP. If
no, hold on. hold on. You've
Yeah,
got you still at some point a clinician has to decide whether you go onto the not decide. They will go onto a comparator drug or a study med, correct?
correct. A clinician decide, the PI decides if the
That's a
patient's
prescription by
appropriate for
definition.
the study.
Right. That's a prescription. You may not put a prescription pad on there, but it's still a prescription.
Okay, fair enough. So then no one's compliant with this.
And that's the problem. Here. And this is the
BPC 2052, practicing medicine without a license is a wobbler
I've never heard of
offense,
some wobbler, but I don't know what that.
meaning prosecutors may charge it as a misdemeanor or felony, depending on the circumstances. If you're convicted of a misdemeanor, you can face fines up to $1,000 a year in county jail, and
And probation.
probation. Interesting.
So Ethan
Ethan,
points out you need the appropriate insurance. That's not going to fix your problem.
you definitely need the appropriate insurance in addition to the doc's malpractice. Ultimately, his license and malpractice on the line. But in
But
court, they will go after everything they can get their hands on. The sponsor's insurance should cover the IP and protocol as long as the site follow it correctly.
none of that will be relevant to this conversation.
Yeah. Ethan, you don't know Darshan well enough. This is nothing for him.
No, because malpractice and liability insurance in these situations will cover the payment of defending you. But in the end, you have to have a defense. The defense is, yeah, I'm doing it.
Well, the way I've understood it is if research is completely separate from medical care, your thing doesn't apply.
So here's the beauty of what I'm saying. So you have to keep the research component separate
from the medical care.
But the actual prescribing and the like, the prescribing and the like has to be done in the medical group.
Well, now it depends on how you define this prescribe, because
no. So the way I just did this for a client, which is why I'm kind of like passionate about this topic. So what you lined up with is the stuff we were talking about earlier: the regulatory documents, the contracting, the dealing with the FDA, the finding sponsors. All of that would be part of your research site. Mm-hmm. That contracts with the medical doctor's office. And now that organization is your MSO, the organization that is doing all of that work for you.
Right. You have a separate entity handling these things.
Correct. Yes. So it's and I'll show you the NIH. They talk about this as well. I spent like years looking at this thing going, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And then this all clicked and I was like, holy crap, that's what they've been talking about this whole time. But the point being, in that scenario, the site, the doctor's office does all the medical work. They have to be compliant with HIPAA. You don't have to be compliant with HIPAA because you're not doing any of the medical work. Because all you're doing is transposing those numbers, and that is not subject to HIPAA. But if you now take the doctor and you put him inside your site, what you now have is a situation where you are engaged in the practice of medicine. Right. You now have to be HIPAA compliant. Yeah. And the last time I did this, I did it for a different organization, completely different situation. I had to get my site, my company compliant with HIPAA, brand new company, so it wasn't like a complex thing or anything. That organization, we spent about $250,000, and I wrote the check, so I happen to know how much that money we spent on that. So you don't want to go down the HIPAA compliance route if you can help it. But if you,
what about the partial waiver?
What about the partial waiver?
Thrown into every partial HIPAA waiver, thrown into every ICF, basically.
Oh, that's why you're going to do it, because then you can say that I can transfer it over. So the partial HIPAA waiver is great.
Okay, but that's what we got in all of them.
No, the partial HIPAA waiver is great as long as you still have this entity separate.
Oh, yeah, but of course, separate LLC, everything.
But what are you doing in that LLC?
Research, everything,
including the actual
screening, pre-screening,
no,
collecting but what about medical history.
Yeah, that would be the problem.
Yeah. So sure. I mean, faxing, requesting records.
Yeah, that's all. That's all HIPAA, right?
If those are all HIPAA problems. Of course, yeah, all HIPAA problems.
So
There's no solution to this, guys. Just
no, there is a solution. The
hold
solution is
on
you have to
tight.
split up, or reach out to Darshan. But
Yeah, reach out to Darshan's the best way to not have to worry about all this stuff. Man, there's always something new. Like it just goes to show you no one's ever going to be in compliance, and this is why people are afraid of audits of any sort.
well, so here's the thing. I would say no FDA auditor would know this.
Right. But
Number
like
one.
I'm talking state board audit
Yeah,
or
correct. State board audits
yeah,
are totally different beast. But
yeah,
uh, who should be afraid? The PI should be afraid because it's their license on the line.
right.
Who else should be afraid? People who are practicing without a license, which in this case would be site owners and the like. So you need to be afraid in that
I
scenario.
don't practice medicine, Darshan.
You are organized. You own a company that
I
is
own a
engaged in
company.
the unauthorized practice of medicine.
Sorry for that crime, Darshan. It's still the United States.
That's not how that works.
I own a company, yes.
Sorry for hurting you. It's still the United States.
How do I practice medicine? Let's go.
Okay, so
grill me.
Oh, this would be super simple.
The PI makes all medical decisions. I don't want anything to do with those.
Hold on. Let's go back to corporate practice of medicine.
Okay. Let's put this on the screen. Corporate practice of medicine.
So any person, so we agree that the business is engaged in the practice of medicine because it's doing all this stuff.
I mean, I conceded, but I don't agree with a lot of it, like prescribing, for example.
But at least one of those. Would you agree that at least one of those is being done at any given time?
Yeah, diagnosing's done purely in the research sense.
Yeah, fair enough. But it's being done, right? So as long as you can see that, we can move on. I don't need to hit all of them. I need to hit or.
Okay.
If that's true, any person who attempts to practice holds himself out as practicing. So if your organization is doing any of that, including business or management decisions, that is a problem.
So we should just make a nonprofit.
That doesn't solve the problem. It's not the organizational entity.
But the board doesn't. So I can't get in trouble, but my PI can.
PI will. You can because you're part owner of an organization that is involved.
But what the board can take my license? I don't have one.
No, they will charge you with a felony. Here.
Oh, good thing I'm in Arizona.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't.
Chris, you gotta be careful.
I'm not giving legal advice. Please, not giving legal or medical advice.
You know how many site owners are gonna quit right now because of this clip?
Here's the good news, Dan. Your site just became more valuable.
Thank you for that. Let's keep scaring people. You always manage to do this, man. But this is why people love the Fraud Pod.
We come and try to do something new and different each time, and now people go. That's why I don't want to ever talk to lawyers because you find
should be a good scary title for this video. You think? No one is in compliance. You can go to jail.
Yeah, all of those, right?
Okay,
that's what that feels like.
I'll use that as the title.
What do you guys think? What should be the title? Does anyone have a recommendation on the title?
Darshan says you will go to jail. You should do this at ACRP.
How you messed up setting up the clinical trial site?
Breakout session. So the next vendor at ACRP or SOS should be like bail bondsman. They should set up a little booth. Come in there. Hey, next time you get arrested, just contact us. We'll take care of you.
Come contact us. Jeez. I mean, it could be worse. You could be looking at who was our friend? The guy from who's doing 25 years in jail.
Oh, that dude who got addicted to his own pain meds. And
yeah.
I mean, yeah, he was prescribing, I guess, meds to himself.
I don't know if he was. Okay, hold on. So Ethan has a fair point, and that's a fair point.
Ethan. Some states allow non-doctors to have ownership.
100%.
Others do not. I'd say but it's a research site, a clinic, though.
Yes.
The city where I'm at does not consider me to be a clinic. The building is coded for anything but medical.
But that's not what it's not the city's definition. And just to be clear, we're specifically avoiding talking about any individual site. but because it's the state, it's the state. Do you really want me to pull up Arizona? Because I'll pull up the definition for
Let's do
Arizona.
it. Let's do it.
Okay, let's pull up Arizona's definition of.
Ethan, stay tuned, man. This is getting better by the second. Some states allow non-doctors to have ownership in clinics.
He's
Others do not.
100% right, and that's why I said it doesn't apply across the board.
What is a clinic in that case?
No, but he's not using it. He's not
like. Let's say the state comes after me, Darshan. I hire you. You would argue the hell out of me not having a clinic.
Exactly. Right? Well, but that's not the definition is not whether it's a clinic or not. I would 100% argue that, but
okay,
you try to find the best reasonable way you're gonna get off. Hold on.
Man, we get too many attorneys.
Medical assist. Okay, here we go.
Arizona.
This is Arizona. Can you pull up the screen?
Arizona. Practice of medicine means the diagnosis, so the treatment or the correction of or the attempt or the claim to be able to diagnose, treat, or correct any and all human diseases. So far we don't make any of those claims. Or
really you're gonna say that with a straight face?
Yeah, isn't the informed consent? This is not a we do not know that this works.
But that's only the treatment. But are you still doing the diagnosis?
No.
Really, that's not part of your screening process.
Only in psych.
In anything, you can say only in.
No, you don't do diagnosis. Like the study I have, diabetes, right? You need patients who already have been diagnosed with diabetes.
But if to be part of your study, you still need to re-diagnose them to make sure they qualify.
No. Medical history.
It's
already there.
First of all, I can tell you that would not fly. There's no scenario in which anyone's going to argue that you're right on that.
What do you mean re-diagnose? You're just confirming that they are.
So confirming is diagnosing. Diagnose doesn't mean the first time. It means every time you do it.
Every time.
Yeah, that's considered diagnosing.
Well, under that definition, then yes.
Yeah.
And we don't even need to read the rest because it's.
No, I don't. As long as I read one of them.
Affected by this chapter. Wow. Means okay. Means the diagnosis. Yeah, see, I still disagree, but if you say so, I mean, I'm not gonna argue with that.
So then does Arizona have the corporate practice of medicine issue? So Arizona.
Fingers crossed for everyone in Arizona in the 48th state. Yeah, all individuals can hold licenses as doctors of medicine and practice medicine.
There you go. Arizona allows non-licensed entities to own up to 49%. There you go. You might have some wiggle room here.
Huh. In a professional corporation, provided it's not prohibited by profession-specific.
So we'd have to look at whether the medicine falls into one of those.
And research, not medicine.
Well,
this is where the whole thing falls apart. Research.
No, it doesn't, though. I know you want it to. It doesn't.
I don't know. If you want something hard enough,
this is not a wish upon a star.
Well, Ruth's cracking up. Ruth, we're in the wrong business apparently.
But it's very easy to solve. Well, let's not say easy. It's possible to solve. You just have to separate the entities out.
Can you just put in your operating agreement, this company is research only and does not practice medicine?
Sort of. This part is research only. We're not engaged in the medicine. You do the medicine there. You continue to do whatever you want there. We only do this component.
So we have to redo our operating agreement.
So what I like to do is I like to set it up so that you have a holding company on top that owns multiple MSOs. Each MSO is that research company that we're talking about.
We kind of do that already.
You probably do a lot of that. So it's really just rejiggering it. It's not like blowing everything up. So here's the bad news, Dan. Look at what Ruth's saying.
Actually, I agree with Darshan. Yeah, I mean, Darshan is very convincing. He's an attorney.
That's my entire job to get this right.
I agree with Darshan too. I'm not going to argue with him. I just think we're pretty much already compliant. You just need to, like you said,
you need to rejigger
flip a few words.
Theoretically, yes. You got to make sure that you're not exposing yourself to that liability.
I see.
What happens is most of us practice clinical research at the federal level. And that's what happens. So we all go 1572. We talk about Code of
Okay.
Federal Regulations.
Gotcha.
This, what I'm doing here is I'm doing at the state level.
State level. I see.
And that's what
But
most
the
people miss.
states, is there any history of a state auditing a site?
So let's see. Well, it's not again. You keep saying it's research. They don't care about whether it's research or not. They care about our patients being impacted.
So they would audit the doctor.
They would start with the doctor,
Uh-huh.
and then they'd see what is happening, what functions is the doctor performing,
And then they would see what is this other entity working with
correct,
him.
correct. That's how
And then they would say, "Well, that's research. We don't touch that. That's
That is
FDA."
so not what they would say. That is so not what they would say.
That's about the time I would call you and say, "Darshan."
So when everything is blown up, there's no way of saving it. Let's call Darshan. Let's see if there's a freaking Hail Mary in here somewhere.
Exactly. What's the playbook for this, Darshan?
Please, sir, may I have some gruel? That's the playbook.
That's the play. This is interesting, man. I think a lot of people are gonna wake up. Okay, so free advice that's not legal.
Yes.
Or
Okay.
medical.
Yeah.
Free opinion.
Yeah.
From a subject matter expert.
Sure. What's your question?
What do you do?
So it's very, very simple. You just say all you do is do the regulatory documents, you're doing the training, you're doing the dealing with the FDA, and you're basically saying for all of that, you charge quote unquote the doctor's office. He does any of those medical procedures. That office does the medical procedures. Now, if you want to give equity in your organization, that's fine too. But that doesn't you want to keep the two organizations separated.
Would the SOP be enough to prove we don't practice medicine?
Sure, absolutely. But it's you have to actually have that in practice. So let's say Dr. Smith's office, I'm not talking your Dr. Smith, a Dr. Smith's office, he does the diagnosis, treatment, decides if the person should be part of a study, blah, 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 even does the informed consent. You do the training, negotiating with the sponsor, getting the contract in place, all of that stuff. Dr. Smith can tell, you know what, I want person ABC to put this information into the sponsor's portal. That's okay. But it has to be two separate organizations doing two separate jobs.
Right. I think at my sites, we basically do. And we have that paper trail to prove it if we had to.
What you don't want to do is you don't want to have Dr. Smith coming in and saying, I am part of Human Clinical Research. We do all of the work under Human Clinical Research for three reasons. One, because Human Clinical Research probably does not carry physician liability insurance. That's unusual. That would be a very unusual situation. Number two,
our NP has something for it.
So again, it's an unusual situation. That's great if your NP does, and that's awesome. I'm just saying it's an unusual situation. It's possible.
Okay.
Because it can get very expensive very quickly, right? So most people will say, "Oh, the doctor has it; he has it under his own name, so we don't worry about it." So, you guys may be doing it differently. So I just said it's unusual. Okay. Second is you don't want to worry about UMA becoming HIPAA compliant if you can avoid it, because the cost of doing that is so prohibitively expensive.
And this is irrespective of if you're using partial waiver or not in your consent.
Yeah, you're going to get the partial waiver, but that partial waiver has to be given once you've got the documentation, which he can do as part of his doctor's office.
Yeah.
And then he can get the informed consent saying, I waive it, and then it can come out of the organization, coming to yours.
So you can't do it before?
No. He can do it before. You don't want to do it after, because otherwise you got protected health information.
No, but you can't get their records before.
Exactly.
But he already has them.
Correct. Exactly right. So that's okay.
Yeah, this is so confusing, but okay.
Does
the PI need to be a 1099 for the site, even if they are an owner?
So the PI wouldn't be a 1099 for the site, right? The PI is working for himself. Unless you're doing an equity ownership, in which case you don't need a 1099.
If the PI is the owner of the site, they get a K1.
Right.
Not a 1099. But
I think what Ethan's asking is, is the PI giving any services to the site? And I don't think the PI is giving any services to the site in that scenario, because all the PI services are being done in his organization. All the non-PI services are being done at the site.
All the non-medical services are done at
Correct.
the
You're correct. All the non-medical services are being done at the site.
Mm-hmm. Or at least they should be.
At least they should be.
This is interesting, man. We need
He's like, shit.
These fraud pods always get. I mean, I don't think anyone's compliant in the world.
I'd say the vast majority. The vast majority are not. I would agree with your statement.
I would say none.
So I say, for example, if you look at the hospitals and the like, they all do this right. And that's why, if you ever look at these clinical trial agreements, they always talk about who's the signing entity, because this matters.
Right. The signing entity is always the clinic, the research site.
Exactly. So the research site. So now what you have to be careful of is, in some scenarios, the way the billing has to work is depending on the state. Some states will say only the doctor's office can bill for medical work. So shit, what does that mean? Some situations will say
medical work.
Correct.
The research work.
You keep drawing the distinct. So you say that
we do that. Every IRB tells you to draw the distinction.
Right, but again, we're talking about state law. There are different laws.
I see. Damn it, these states, man.
Add an all new layer on top of everything. So what you want to make sure you do is that you draw that distinction, and you're being paid for only the stuff you can be paid for. So, and some states will basically say you can get paid as a site as long as you then pay the doctor for the medical work, because you cannot keep the money for the medical work.
What's the strictest state, anecdotally, that you've seen in regards to this, or just from the practical aspects of running a research clinic?
They're always so complicated, dude.
I hear like Pennsylvania is pretty bad.
I heard PA is pretty bad as well, but I have such a crappy memory, I can never remember without looking in. Okay. California is usually pretty bad as well. So,
but in this regard, they're actually not. Like, surprisingly, not that bad.
Why did you say that?
I mean, they're like the same as Arizona in this case.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. But
word for word.
We didn't look at all the other components, right? All we looked at is just ownership, but we didn't look at, for example, billing.
Or when you get into like data privacy, or what is that new thing?
CCPA, for example.
What was it?
CCPA or CPRA? That's the privacy laws you're talking about.
Sure.
CMEA.
Yeah. The ones that they copied from Europe.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I think we've caused some change, Dan.
I may have to change a few things. I mean, I think you just need to like flip a few words around, man. It's not that big of a deal.
It's not that dramatic, as long as you sort of have the policies in place. Hopefully, you're doing all the right stuff already. It's just which organization's doing the right stuff. That's all it comes down to.
Well, it's proving that you're doing the right stuff, which is the hard part. Yeah. But yeah, flip a few words around and you'll be fine. Save yourself a legal bill, no? Or call Darshan if you need it like done the right way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say no to the work, and I'm also
what
not
about Grok? Let's ask Grok. Should I ask Grok?
First of all, I'll ask Grok. But speaking of Grok, are we going to change topics? Because I'm happy to talk about this as well.
Yeah, but what do you want me to prompt Grok like for this? Like, let's test the Grok right now.
Let's ask Grok whether Arizona research is involved in the corporate practice of medicine. Does the corporate practice of medicine include research?
Does the corporate practice of medicine include clinical research in Arizona? Oh, let me share my screen. You guys can see Grok. No. Can you see it? Hold on, you can see it. You can?
Yep, I can.
Okay, let's go back to it. I put the prompt. Let's go. Researching, it says.
By the way, you might want to zoom in a little bit because we can't see it.
I'll read it. The corporate practice of medicine doctrine in Arizona is not explicitly defined in Arizona statutes or regulations.
We have to look at it closer, but I mean, to be fair, we just pulled off from like a definition someone else had.
It's not explicitly defined, Darshan. I could breathe easy, man. The rest of you states got to worry. However, the Arizona Supreme Court decision in Funk Jewelry Company
I
and
also don't know if I'm going to trust Grok over a lawyer, but sure.
have established the
Not
CPOM
researching it.
doctrine prohibits corporations from practicing medicine or employing a physician to provide
Yeah, that's literally
professional
the
medical
definition.
services.
Yeah.
This doctrine, while the focus is often on physicians and medical care, the CPOM family of laws typically apply to a wide range of licensed healthcare providers, including those involved in clinical research. Arizona does not specifically address the issue of clinical research. However, the general principle suggests that clinical research conducted by corporations would be subject to the same standards. In Arizona, corporations are permitted to own up to 49% of shares in a professional corporation, provided it's not prohibited by profession-specific licensing. This is basically what you told me. And then they cite like some people here from Wall Street Journal. Let me ask it something else. Make my company compliant with some boilerplate text I can add to my operating agreement. Darshan, this is like taking over your job, man. Look at this.
Oh,
What do
I'm
you
not
think about
worried.
this?
I'm not worried at all because I use AI, but I don't use it in this way.
Look, it's writing my thing. Ethan, where are you at? You watching? I'll send this to you.
Yeah,
Professional autonomy. Oh my gosh, man. Just copy and paste. Throw that in there. Look at this. Doesn't stop.
so you think size equates to
No, but
adequacy?
I'm just impressed.
I I love how Ethan went. You know what? We need someone professional. Let's bring in
This is a
ChatGPT.
question for ChatGPT. Let's get Grok out of here and go with ChatGPT. Yeah, interesting stuff there, Sean. I mean, wow.
You said fraud pod, so we had to bring. I had to bring something big.
Thank you, man. I mean, who would have thunk? Like, just when we thought, okay, we're fine, we got through our sponsor monitor, and now we got this. Like,
Now we got this,
more things to worry about.
but it's fixable, and you should make sure you're fixed.
Well, Grok already kind of did.
I say use Grok. Let me know how it goes.
Yeah. Well, it's better than what we currently have. I'll tell you that.
That's a really low bar. I am illegal. It's better than straight up illegal, I guess.
Yeah.
But you might still be illegal at the end of it. But okay, let's find out.
Right. Now this is geez, man. Everybody contact Darshan if you want to get compliant.
There you go. And you can contact me at darshan@kulkarnilawfirm.com.
I love it, man. Anything else?
No, I think we should have another one. We try to do these every 2 weeks or so. I got to find something.
I think we've been doing pretty good too.
Yeah, I had more stuff to talk about, but we'll talk about more stuff.
Give us a teaser, like a.
I want to talk about some of the warning letters and stuff that are coming out and what they're going after.
Okay, back to the federal stuff. I'd rather deal with the feds than the state. I've learned after this.
Here's another one that we could talk about. This is a fun one. We talked about corporate practice of medicine and we talked about how it's bad, right? How about when the courts went after the FDA for doing that?
Okay.
So that could be a fun conversation to have.
I like it.
It has nothing to do with clinical research. It has to do with the FDA exceeding its boundaries. And the FDA settled the case, just to be clear.
Who'd they pay?
Well, stay tuned and find out.
All right. Darshan was involved somehow, I'm guessing.
Darshan was not involved. Darshan was not involved. However,
unfortunately,
not about this. He's presenting on it.
All right, cool stuff. Darshan, look, everybody go connect with him right now. His LinkedIn is underneath this video and in the show notes. In all seriousness, don't use something like Grok or ChatGPT for this. You can use it as a starting point, but ultimately,
you might use it as a starting point, but you got to just make sure you got all your thoughts cleared and know why you're doing what you're doing.
Right. Yeah, I didn't even read what Grok spit out, but it looks good. I've sat through a few malpractice cases, not fun. Yep. So take it seriously. Darshan, thank you. You managed to scare the shit out of everyone again.
I feel like I am like the weekly horror story.
Yeah. This pod has not done its job. If it's called Fraud Pod, unless you don't leave like scared shitless. So every time I do personally, and hopefully someone else from the audience as well.
To quote Ethan, I may have to change a few things.
There you go.
Those are
Like,
great words for me.
subscribe, comment, share. That's a great way to end. That might be the new name of our next LLC. I may have to change a few things. LLC.
Very, very cool. Thanks.